What if I told you that God doesn't live in heaven, but is hidden in the depths of your own mind, and that Carl Jung discovered the exact location where the divine resides within every human being? For decades, we've searched for God in temples, churches, and sacred mountains. But Jung made a shocking discovery. God lives in what he called the collective unconscious, a hidden dimension of the human psyche that connects all souls in the universe. Imagine discovering that you carry within yourself the same divine database that Jesus, Buddha, and all saints have accessed. That your dreams, intuitions, and moments of inspiration are actually direct messages from this cosmic source. That when you die, your consciousness simply returns to this eternal dwelling, where it was always connected. Jung didn't just theorize about this, he experienced it. During a near-death experience, he visited this dimension and spoke with beings of light who confirmed his most revolutionary suspicions. Today, you're going to discover how to access this divine connection that lies dormant within you. Prepare yourself for a journey that will forever change your understanding of who you really are. 1. The day Jung almost died and saw the impossible. Picture this. You're lying in a hospital bed, your heart barely beating, doctors rushing around you with desperate faces. Most people would be terrified. But what happened to Carl Jung in 1944 changed everything we thought we knew about death and the afterlife. Jung was 69 years old when his heart gave out. As his body shut down, something extraordinary occurred. Instead of darkness, he found himself floating above the earth, seeing our planet as a glowing blue marble suspended in space. But this wasn't just any ordinary out-of-body experience. What he witnessed next would shake the foundations of psychology and spirituality forever. He described traveling through what felt like cosmic corridors, moving toward a temple-like structure that radiated pure light. Inside this sacred space, he encountered beings who seemed to know him intimately. These weren't angels with wings or traditional religious figures. They were pure consciousness, emanating wisdom and love beyond human comprehension. What shocked Jung most wasn't just seeing these beings, but realizing that this realm felt more real than physical reality. The colors were more vivid, the sensations more intense, and his awareness was crystal clear, clearer than it had ever been in his entire life. He felt like he was finally coming home after a long journey in a foreign land. But then something unexpected happened. One of these luminous beings communicated with him telepathically, explaining that it wasn't his time yet. He had more work to complete on Earth. Jung felt a profound disappointment. He desperately wanted to stay in this realm of pure understanding and love. When he returned to his physical body, Jung was never the same. The experience wasn't a hallucination or dream. It was more real than anything he had ever experienced. This convinced him that consciousness exists independently of the brain, and that death is simply a transition to a higher form of existence. What makes this even more remarkable is that Jung had spent decades studying the human mind before this happened. He wasn't some naive believer looking for spiritual experiences. He was a scientist, a doctor who had dissected brains and studied mental illness. Yet this experience convinced him that there are dimensions of reality that science hadn't even begun to explore. The most fascinating part is what Jung realized about the nature of this otherworldly realm. It wasn't separate from human consciousness. It was the source of it. This divine dimension was the same place where all human inspiration, creativity, and wisdom originated. Every great invention, every work of art, every moment of deep understanding came from this cosmic wellspring. Jung understood that during his near-death experience, he had accessed what he would later call the collective unconscious, not as a theory, but as a living, breathing reality. This wasn't just the shared memory bank of humanity, it was the very mind of God, and every human being was connected to it, whether they knew it or not. When he recovered, Jung couldn't stop talking about the reality of life after death. But he approached it scientifically, studying thousands of dreams, visions, and spiritual experiences from his patients. What he found was that the same symbols, the same archetypal figures, and the same spiritual truths appeared across all cultures and time periods. This wasn't coincidence, it was evidence that all human minds were tapped into the same divine source. The same realm Jung had visited during his brush with death was actively communicating with people through their dreams, their intuitions, and their moments of spiritual insight. The implications were staggering. If consciousness survived death, if there was this cosmic realm of pure wisdom and love, then everything about how we lived our lives needed to change. We weren't isolated beings struggling alone in a meaningless universe. We were connected to something magnificent, something eternal, something that cared deeply about our growth and development. Jung's near-death experience became the foundation for revolutionary discoveries about the nature of God, consciousness, and human potential. It proved that death wasn't an ending, but a homecoming, and that the divine wasn't distant and unreachable, but intimately woven into the fabric of every human mind. 2. The secret door of the mind that connects you to the divine. Deep within your mind lies a hidden chamber that most people never discover. It's not in your conscious thoughts or your personal memories. It exists in a mysterious realm that Jung called the collective unconscious. Think of it as a secret library that contains every piece of wisdom, every spiritual truth, and every divine revelation that has ever existed. This isn't just psychology theory. It's the most practical spiritual discovery ever made. Every single human being carries within them a direct hotline to the divine, but most people spend their entire lives without knowing how to answer the call. The collective unconscious is like having God's personal phone number, but keeping your phone on silent mode. What makes this discovery so revolutionary is that it explains why certain symbols and spiritual truths appear in every culture throughout history. The cross, the circle, the tree of life, the wise old man, the great mother. These aren't random images that humans invented. They're downloaded directly from this divine database that exists within every human mind. When you see these symbols in your dreams or feel drawn to certain spiritual images, you're not just experiencing personal psychology. You're receiving transmissions from the same source that inspired every prophet, every mystic, and every spiritual teacher who ever lived. Your mind is literally tuned into the frequency of the divine. But here's what's truly mind-blowing. This connection isn't something you have to earn or achieve through years of meditation. It's already there, working behind the scenes, influencing your thoughts, your decisions, and your life path every single day. The collective unconscious is constantly trying to guide you toward your highest potential, sending you messages through dreams, synchronicities, and gut feelings. Jung discovered that this divine realm communicates through what he called archetypes, universal patterns of energy that represent different aspects of human experience and spiritual truth. These archetypes are like spiritual software programs running in the background of your mind, helping you navigate life's challenges and discover your true purpose. The most powerful archetype is what Jung called the self. The divine spark within you that knows your true identity and life mission. This isn't your ego or your personality. It's the part of you that's directly connected to the source of all creation. When you feel that deep knowing about what's right for your life, when you experience moments of profound clarity about your purpose, that's yourself communicating with you. What's absolutely fascinating is that this divine connection becomes stronger during times of crisis, major life transitions, and spiritual seeking. It's as if the collective unconscious recognizes when you're ready to receive deeper wisdom and turns up the volume of its communications. This explains why people often have the most profound spiritual experiences during their darkest hours. The collective unconscious also explains why certain places feel sacred to you, why certain music moves your soul, and why you sometimes know things without knowing how you know them. You're not just having personal experiences, you're accessing the accumulated spiritual wisdom of all humanity stored in this divine database within your mind. Jung realized that mental illness often occurred when people became disconnected from this source of inner wisdom. Depression, anxiety, and feelings of meaninglessness were symptoms of being cut off from the collective unconscious. Healing meant reconnecting with this divine wellspring and allowing its wisdom to flow back into conscious awareness. This connection to the divine isn't limited by time, space, or physical death. The collective unconscious exists outside of ordinary reality, which means your connection to God and to the wisdom of all souls remains intact even after your physical body dies. Death simply removes the barrier between your individual consciousness and this cosmic source. Understanding this secret door of the mind changes everything about how you approach spirituality and personal growth. You don't need to search for God in external places. The divine is already intimately present within your own psyche, constantly offering guidance, wisdom, and love. You just need to learn how to listen. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the Sim Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. 3. Why your dreams know things you don't know. Have you ever woken up from a dream that felt so real, so meaningful, that it stayed with you for days or even years? Have you ever dreamed about something that later happened in real life, leaving you wondering if you somehow saw into the future? Jung discovered that dreams aren't just random brain activity during sleep. They're direct communications from the divine realm within your unconscious mind. Your dreaming mind has access to information that your waking consciousness could never obtain through normal means. It can see patterns in your life that you haven't noticed, predict outcomes based on subtle energy shifts you haven't consciously detected, and receive guidance from the collective wisdom of all humanity stored in your unconscious. This happens because during sleep, your ego mind, the part that thinks it knows everything, takes a back seat. Your conscious defenses drop away, and your psyche opens up like a flower to receive transmissions from the collective unconscious. In this state, you become a receiver for divine wisdom, archetypal guidance, and even glimpses of future possibilities. Jung spent years documenting dreams that contained information the dreamer couldn't possibly have known through normal channels. People dreamed of events that later happened exactly as shown in the dream. Others received solutions to complex problems they'd been struggling with for months. Some even dreamed of deceased loved ones who provided comfort and guidance during difficult times. What makes this even more remarkable is that dreams often communicate through symbols and metaphors that bypass your rational mind entirely. The collective unconscious speaks in the ancient language of images, emotions, and archetypal patterns that resonate directly with your soul. A dream about flying might represent spiritual freedom. A dream about water might represent emotional cleansing or spiritual rebirth. Your unconscious mind processes information 24 hours a day, analyzing patterns, making connections, and receiving insights from the collective wisdom of humanity. While you're busy with daily activities, your deeper mind is constantly downloading guidance, warnings, and revelations from this divine source. Dreams are how this information gets delivered to your conscious awareness. The most powerful dreams often come during major life transitions, times of crisis, or periods of intense spiritual growth. It's as if the collective unconscious recognizes when you need extra guidance and sends more vivid, meaningful dreams to help navigate challenging circumstances. These dreams can literally save your life by warning you of dangers or pointing you toward opportunities you would have missed otherwise. Jung also discovered that recurring dreams carry special significance. When your unconscious mind keeps sending the same message, it means there's something crucial you need to understand or act upon. These dreams will continue until you receive the message and take appropriate action in your waking life. Even more fascinating is that dreams can connect you with deceased loved ones in ways that feel absolutely real. Jung found that these visitation dreams often contained information that could be verified, suggesting that consciousness really does survive physical death and can communicate through the dream state. The collective unconscious serves as a bridge between the living and the dead. Your dreams also have the remarkable ability to show you your life from a higher perspective. They can reveal the deeper meaning behind difficult experiences, show you patterns in your relationships that you haven't recognized, and help you understand your true life purpose. Dreams see the big picture of your soul's journey in ways that your everyday mind cannot. What's truly extraordinary is that you can learn to work consciously with this divine communication system. By paying attention to your dreams, keeping a dream journal, and learning to interpret the symbolic language of the unconscious, you can tap into this wellspring of divine guidance whenever you need it. The information flowing through your dreams isn't just personal guidance. It's connected to the cosmic intelligence that guides the entire universe. When you learn to listen to your dreams, you're literally receiving downloads from the mind of God, delivered through the secret doorway of your unconscious while you sleep. 4. The mysterious place where all souls meet. Imagine a vast cosmic library, where every soul that has ever existed leaves behind their experiences, their wisdom, and their love. This isn't science fiction. Jung discovered that there's an actual dimension where all human consciousness connects, shares information, and continues to exist even after physical death. He called this the collective unconscious, but it's much more than a psychological concept. It's the meeting ground of all souls. This mysterious realm exists outside of time and space as we understand them. It's not located anywhere in the physical universe, yet it's more real than the ground beneath your feet. Every thought you've ever thought, every emotion you've ever felt, every lesson you've learned becomes part of this eternal database that all souls can access. Think about those moments when you meet someone and instantly feel like you've known them forever. Or when you visit a place you've never been before, but it feels like coming home. These experiences happen because your soul is recognizing connections from this deeper realm, where all consciousness meets and mingles. What's absolutely mind-blowing is that this isn't just a storage place for human experiences. It's alive, intelligent, and actively working to help every soul grow and evolve. It's like having access to the combined wisdom of every person who has ever lived, including spiritual masters, great philosophers, and enlightened beings who have transcended physical existence. Jung realized that certain people throughout history have been able to access this realm more easily than others. These individuals become channels for divine wisdom, bringing through teachings, inventions, and insights that benefit all humanity. Every great spiritual revelation, every breakthrough in science, every work of art that touches the soul originates from this cosmic meeting place. But here's the revolutionary part. You don't have to be a special chosen person to access this realm. Every human being is naturally connected to it through their unconscious mind. The only difference is that most people haven't learned how to consciously tune into this frequency. It's like having a radio that can receive signals from heaven, but keeping it turned to static. This soul meeting place explains why similar ideas appear simultaneously in different parts of the world among people who have never met. It's why children sometimes know things they couldn't possibly have learned. It's why you sometimes have profound insights that seem to come from nowhere. Your individual consciousness is constantly downloading information from this collective source. The most beautiful aspect of this discovery is what it means for relationships and love. When you feel a deep soul connection with another person, you're recognizing them from this eternal realm where all souls are intimately connected. True love isn't just chemistry or compatibility, it's the recognition of another soul you've been connected to in this cosmic dimension. This also explains why the death of loved ones doesn't actually separate you from them. Physical death simply means they've returned more fully to this collective realm, but the connection remains intact. They can still communicate with you through dreams, synchronicities, and intuitive insights because consciousness continues to exist in this eternal meeting place. Jung discovered that during deep meditation, prayer, or spiritual practices, people could actually visit this realm consciously. They would return with profound wisdom, healing insights, and a deep sense of peace that lasted long after the experience ended. This wasn't imagination. It was actual contact with the divine source that contains all souls. What makes this even more remarkable is that this collective realm is constantly evolving and growing as new souls contribute their experiences. Every act of love, every moment of wisdom, every triumph over adversity adds to the collective treasure that all souls can access. You're not just receiving from this cosmic database, you're also contributing to it with every meaningful experience in your life. The implications of this discovery are staggering. It means that no soul is ever truly alone or abandoned. Even in your darkest moments, you're connected to an infinite source of love, wisdom, and support from all the souls who have ever faced similar challenges. The combined strength of all humanity is available to help you through any difficulty. This mysterious meeting place also serves as a school for souls. Between physical lifetimes, consciousness continues to learn and grow in this realm. The challenges you face in life aren't random. They're carefully designed learning experiences that help your soul evolve and contribute more wisdom to the collective treasure. Jung's most profound realization was that this realm isn't separate from God. It is the mind of God, expressed through the collective experience of all souls. When you access this dimension, you're literally thinking God's thoughts and feeling God's love. The divine isn't distant and unreachable. It's intimately present in every soul connection, every moment of wisdom, and every experience of unconditional love. Understanding this changes everything about how you view death, relationships, and your purpose in life. You're not a separate individual, struggling alone in an uncaring universe. You're an eternal soul, participating in the grand collective experience of divine consciousness, forever connected to every other soul in the cosmic meeting place where all love and wisdom converge. 5. Scientific proof that you've lived before. What if the strongest evidence for reincarnation didn't come from religious teachings or ancient texts, but from the scientific study of the human mind? Jung uncovered compelling proof that consciousness carries memories from previous lifetimes, stored deep within what he called the collective unconscious. This wasn't based on faith or belief. It was based on decades of careful observation of patterns that couldn't be explained any other way. Jung noticed that his patients would sometimes have vivid memories, phobias, or knowledge that they couldn't possibly have acquired in their current lifetime. A child who had never left their small town would describe ancient cities in perfect detail. Someone with no musical training would suddenly be able to play complex pieces they'd never heard before. Adults would have intense emotional reactions to historical events they'd only read about, as if they had personally lived through those experiences. These weren't isolated cases or rare anomalies. Jung documented thousands of instances where people displayed knowledge, skills, or emotional memories that seemed to come from previous lives. The evidence was so consistent and overwhelming that he concluded consciousness must survive physical death and carry forward accumulated experiences from lifetime to lifetime. The most fascinating evidence came from what Jung called archetypal dreams and visions. People would dream of themselves in completely different time periods, wearing different clothes, speaking different languages. Yet the emotional content of these dreams felt absolutely real and personal. These weren't fantasy dreams. They carried the weight of genuine memory and often provided healing insights for current life challenges. Jung discovered that traumatic events from previous lifetimes could create phobias and emotional blocks in the current lifetime. A person with an unexplained fear of water might recover memories of drowning in a past life. Someone with chronic relationship problems might remember being betrayed or abandoned in previous incarnations. When these past life memories were brought to consciousness and processed, the current lifetime symptoms would often disappear completely. What made this evidence even more compelling was that Jung found the same patterns across different cultures, ages, and backgrounds. Children who had never been exposed to concepts of reincarnation would spontaneously recall past life memories with remarkable accuracy. Adults from strictly religious backgrounds would have visions of previous lifetimes, despite their beliefs making such experiences impossible. The collective unconscious served as the storage system for these lifetime memories. Jung realized that each individual consciousness was like a wave on the ocean, appearing separate on the surface but connected to the infinite depth below. When someone died, their individual wave didn't disappear. It merged back into the collective ocean of consciousness, carrying all its experiences with it. But here's where Jung's discovery gets truly revolutionary. He found that souls don't just randomly reincarnate into any available body. There's an intelligent pattern to reincarnation based on what each soul needs to learn and contribute. The circumstances of your current birth, your family situation, your natural talents, and even your challenges are all carefully designed to help your soul continue its evolutionary journey. Jung documented cases where groups of souls would reincarnate together, playing different roles in each other's lives across multiple lifetimes. Someone who was your parent in one lifetime might be your child in the next. A soul who caused you pain in one incarnation might return to help heal that damage in another. These weren't punishments or rewards. They were opportunities for mutual growth and the balancing of karmic debts. The evidence for reincarnation also appeared in the form of unusual talents and abilities that seemed to come from nowhere. Child prodigies who could master complex skills with minimal training, people who felt inexplicably drawn to certain historical periods or geographical locations, individuals who possessed knowledge about subjects they'd never studied. All of these pointed to memories and abilities carried forward from previous lifetimes. Jung's most startling discovery was that the process of reincarnation wasn't just about individual souls learning lessons. It was part of the collective evolution of human consciousness itself. Each lifetime contributed new experiences and wisdom to the collective unconscious, gradually raising the overall level of spiritual awareness for all humanity. The scientific proof Jung uncovered completely transforms how we understand death, suffering, and human potential. Death isn't an ending. It's a graduation ceremony where the soul reviews what it learned and prepares for the next phase of its eternal education. Every challenge you face, every relationship you experience, every moment of growth contributes to your soul's expanding wisdom bank. This evidence also explains why you sometimes feel like an old soul, why certain people feel familiar the moment you meet them. and why some life lessons seem to come naturally while others require intense struggle. Your soul is drawing on accumulated wisdom from multiple lifetimes while working to master new areas of growth. Most importantly, Jung's research proves that your current lifetime isn't random or meaningless. You chose to be here, in this body, at this time, with these specific challenges and opportunities, because your eternal soul recognized this incarnation as the perfect classroom for your next level of spiritual development. 6. The hidden code God left in your psyche. Buried deep within your unconscious mind lies a secret code that contains the blueprint for your highest spiritual development. Jung discovered that every human being is born with this divine programming already installed in their psyche, a set of universal patterns and symbols that guide the soul's journey toward enlightenment and union with the divine source. This isn't religious doctrine or philosophical theory. This is hard psychological evidence that God has embedded specific instructions for spiritual awakening directly into the structure of human consciousness. Jung called these instructions archetypes, but they're much more than psychological concepts. They're the actual operating system that the divine uses to communicate with every human soul. Think of your psyche as a sophisticated computer that came preloaded with spiritual software. This divine program runs constantly in the background of your mind, influencing your dreams, your intuitions, your life choices, and your spiritual experiences. Most people never consciously access this program, but it's always there, working to guide them toward their ultimate destiny of spiritual awakening. The code manifests through recurring symbols and patterns that appear in every culture throughout history. The hero's journey, the wise teacher, the divine feminine, the shadow self, the sacred marriage, these aren't random human inventions. They're universal templates downloaded directly from the collective unconscious, showing every soul the stages they must pass through on their path to enlightenment. What's absolutely remarkable is that this code is completely personalized for each individual while remaining universally true for all humanity. Your specific life challenges, relationships, and growth opportunities are all designed according to this divine blueprint. The people who come into your life, the obstacles you face, the talents you develop, everything follows the hidden pattern encoded in your psyche. Jung discovered that psychological and spiritual problems arise when people become disconnected from this inner guidance system. Depression, anxiety, addiction, and feelings of meaninglessness are symptoms of being cut off from the divine code running in your unconscious. Healing occurs when you reconnect with these archetypal patterns and allow them to guide your life choices. The code also contains what Jung called the individuation process, a detailed map showing exactly how each soul can achieve wholeness and unity with the divine. This isn't a one-size-fits-all spiritual path. The code adapts itself to your unique personality, circumstances, and soul mission while maintaining the universal principles that lead to enlightenment. One of the most powerful aspects of this divine programming is that it automatically activates during times of crisis, major life transitions, and spiritual seeking. When you're ready for the next level of growth, the code sends increasingly strong signals through dreams, synchronicities, and inner knowing. It's like having a personal spiritual GPS that recalculates your route whenever you get off track. The hidden code also explains why certain spiritual practices, symbols, or teachings resonate deeply with some people while leaving others completely unmoved. Your soul recognizes when it encounters elements that match its inner programming. This is why some people are naturally drawn to meditation, while others find their path through service, creativity, or devotional practices. Jung realized that great spiritual teachers throughout history weren't creating new wisdom. They were translating the universal code into language and practices that people of their time could understand. Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and other enlightened beings were essentially debugging specialists who helped people access the divine programming that was already installed in their psyches. The code operates through what Jung called compensation, a built-in balancing mechanism that ensures your soul gets all the experiences it needs for complete development. If you've been overly focused on material success, the code will create situations that force you to explore spiritual values. If you've been avoiding emotional intimacy, it will bring relationships that require you to open your heart. What makes this discovery so life-changing is that once you become conscious of this divine code operating within you, you can begin to cooperate with it instead of fighting against it. You can learn to recognize its signals, trust its guidance, and align your conscious choices with its deeper wisdom. This transforms spiritual growth from a struggle into a collaboration with the divine intelligence within your own psyche. The hidden code also contains information about your soul's ultimate purpose and contribution to the collective evolution of human consciousness. Each person carries specific gifts, insights, and healing abilities that are meant to be shared with the world. The code gradually reveals these gifts through life experiences that prepare you to fulfill your unique mission. Most amazingly, Jung discovered that this divine programming never stops evolving. As humanity collectively grows in consciousness, the code updates itself with new patterns and possibilities. You're not just following an ancient blueprint, you're participating in the ongoing creation of divine consciousness, adding your unique experiences to the eternal code that guides all souls toward ultimate reunion with their source. 7. How to talk to the dead. Using Jung science. What if communicating with deceased loved ones wasn't just wishful thinking, but an actual scientific possibility that Jung discovered through decades of research? The collective unconscious serves as a bridge between the living and the dead, allowing consciousness to continue communicating across the barrier of physical death. Jung found that the dead don't simply vanish when their bodies die. They become part of the eternal consciousness stored in the collective unconscious. Their memories, personalities, and love remain accessible through specific psychological techniques that bypass the limitations of ordinary reality. The most effective method Jung discovered was what he called active imagination. This involves entering a relaxed, meditative state and allowing images, thoughts, and conversations to arise spontaneously from your unconscious mind. Unlike regular imagination, active imagination feels different, more real, more emotionally charged, and often contains information you couldn't have known consciously. Dreams provide another powerful channel for communication with the dead. Jung documented thousands of cases where deceased loved ones appeared in dreams with specific messages, warnings, or comfort for the living. These weren't symbolic representations. They were actual contact experiences where consciousness connected across dimensional boundaries. The key is learning to distinguish between wishful thinking and genuine contact. Real communication with the dead typically contains unexpected elements, information you didn't know, personality traits you'd forgotten, or messages that challenge your assumptions. The dead often appear younger and more radiant than they were at the time of death, reflecting their return to pure consciousness. Jung also discovered that the recently deceased often attempt to communicate during the first few months after death, when the connection between physical and spiritual realms remains strongest. They may appear in dreams, create unusual synchronicities, or influence electronic devices as they adjust to their new state of existence. Automatic writing provides another method for receiving messages from deceased consciousness. By holding a pen loosely and allowing your hand to move without conscious control, you can sometimes receive written communications that feel distinctly different from your own thoughts and writing style. The collective unconscious also facilitates group communications with the dead through seances and mediumship. Jung found that when multiple people focus their intention together, they can create a stronger connection to the collective realm where deceased consciousness resides. What makes Jung's approach revolutionary is that it treats communication with the dead as a natural psychological function rather than supernatural phenomenon. Death simply changes the form of consciousness without destroying it. The love, wisdom, and connection you shared with someone continues to exist in the timeless realm of the collective unconscious. 8. The final discovery, where God really lives. After decades of exploration, Jung reached his most profound conclusion. God doesn't live in some distant heaven or external realm. God lives within the collective unconscious of humanity itself, the shared psychic space where all souls connect, communicate, and continue to exist after physical death. This isn't metaphor or philosophy. Jung discovered that the collective unconscious possesses all the attributes traditionally assigned to God: omniscience, omnipresence, eternal existence, infinite love, and creative power. It knows everything that has ever been experienced by any conscious being. It exists everywhere that consciousness exists. It never dies because it exists outside of time and space. The collective unconscious creates reality through the thoughts, dreams, and intentions of all souls connected to it. Every act of love, every moment of wisdom, every creative breakthrough emerges from this divine source. When you access your deepest intuition or experience unconditional love, you're literally experiencing God consciousness from within. Jung's final revelation was that individual souls are not separate from God. They are localized expressions of divine consciousness, like waves on an infinite ocean. Your personal unconscious connects directly to this cosmic source, making you both human and divine simultaneously. This means that finding God doesn't require looking outside yourself or following external religious authorities. God is already intimately present within your own psyche, constantly communicating through dreams, intuitions, and archetypal experiences. The kingdom of heaven isn't a place you go to after death. It's a dimension of consciousness you can access right now by diving deep into your own unconscious mind. Death simply removes the barriers between individual consciousness and this collective divine source. You don't go to meet God after death. You return to the God consciousness you've always been part of. Every soul that has ever lived continues to exist within this eternal divine mind, contributing their experiences to the ever-expanding consciousness of God. This discovery transforms everything about spirituality, death, and human purpose. You're not seeking God. You are God, experiencing yourself through individual consciousness while remaining forever connected to the infinite source of all love, wisdom, and creative power. Perhaps the greatest irony of human existence is that we spend our entire lives searching for God in temples and heavens, when the divine has been quietly residing in the depths of our own minds all along, patiently waiting for us to look within and recognize that we were never truly separate from the source we've been seeking.